Hi, I'm Greg Faulkner, pastor at Trinity Presbyterian Church in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. During this week, Holy Week, we have been considering each of the days that comprise this most special week for Christians. Today is Holy Tuesday. Trying to understand exactly what Jesus did throughout the last week of his earthly life is notoriously difficult. Knowing what happened on Thursday and Friday of this week is much easier than trying to figure out exactly Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Some scholars say that this day is the longest day recorded in Mark's Gospel, that it stretches from the 11th chapter and 27th verse of the Gospel of Mark all the way to the 37th verse of chapter 13. If that's accurate, then that's about 115 verses. It would be the longest day recorded in Mark's Gospel. Jesus spends this day in the temple, there teaching. And near the end of the day, he goes through the Kidron Valley up to the Mount of Olives and continues to teach. I'd like to read just two small portions, one from when he's teaching in the temple, a very famous passage, and then a passage from at the Mount of Olives from the 13th chapter. But our first reading is chapter 12, starting at the 28th verse. And one of the scribes came up and heard him disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, "Which commandment is the first of all?" Jesus answered, "The first is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." These are very famous words for Christians. All of us know this call of Christ that the highest commandment is to love God and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Now, a short passage from the 13th chapter of Mark. This passage is part of what is often called the Little Apocalypse. The Little Apocalypse is the revelation, the unfolding. The Great Apocalypse is the last book of the Scriptures, the book of Revelation. This little apocalypse is where Jesus is talking about end times, what we should expect when the world is coming to its conclusion and God will judge the nations. Jesus says this about that day. This is the 32nd verse of the 13th chapter. "But of that day, or that hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Take heed, watch, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves home and puts his servants in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Watch, therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midnight, or at cockcrow, or in the morning, lest he come suddenly and find you asleep. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch." This is a profoundly unique Holy Tuesday. I've spoken with many people who are anxious. I've had a few people ask me, do you feel like we are entering the last days, the end times? I don't think we are. And I couldn't tell you if we were because I wouldn't know. If the angels in heaven don't know, and Jesus says that even the Son does not know, that only the Father knows, then how in the world would Greg Faulkner know? Or how would anyone know? It seems like the important thing for me is that Jesus says to be ready, to be watching for his return. And he tells us exactly how we're supposed to do that, by loving God with all that we are, by loving our neighbor, and loving ourselves. On this Holy Tuesday, I would like to take comfort not in great anxiety and worry, but that God is coming to us over and over again, and I want to be ready. And I want to be ready by loving him and loving you and loving myself. It seems to me that that would be a great way to spend Holy Tuesday and Holy Week in a time of pandemic, is to be watching and loving. May God make it so for you and for me this Holy Week.